Welcome to the Bliss Out Queen podcast for the spiritually curious who are committed to revolutionizing their life and the world. Through this podcast, you will learn how to evolve your life and intentionally create from a grounded and soul-aligned place. I call this the Bliss Timeline, a reality where you are living in a flow state, abundant and balanced with your heart, soul, and natural rhythms. What I share will come from my own discoveries while exploring this timeline and learning how to develop it. If this sparks excitement in you, I encourage you to follow the podcast, share with a friend, and go on your own exploration of your bliss timeline. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Activation series / podcast. Behind the scenes, I'm still going back and forth, so we'll see what it ends up truly being. But today I am here to share about a concept that I was introduced to when I started to engage with the plant medicine community, and I was drawn and attracted to that space in a very unexpected and kind of sudden way in 2021 and 2020. And I'll share another time, or there's other places that I share about my experience in that, but I just wanted to give a little bit of a backstory, a little bit about my experience and leading up to plant medicine and how this concept ties in. So briefly, in the end of 2020, I knew that I wasn't feeling resonant with the way I was originally guiding myself into a business. Like, the idea that I had was more focused around coaching, but I just didn't really feel resonant with it in the way that I initially had hoped. And I just felt like my soul and body needed to just be immersed in nature and just like body to earth, like give me as much contact with nature as I could. And so just following breadcrumbs, really, I was led to I think it was 3-week shamanic initiation, but also introduction to shamanism in Costa Rica. And so part of that program was we explored different elements each week. So it must have been 4 weeks because there's like 4 elements. So each week we explored a different element, and along with that exploration and reflection included a plant medicine that corresponded to that element. So I would say that has given me a lot of like reawakening of this process that I do naturally with self-reflection and meditation with the earth and receiving insights and information from it. A lot of that started more consciously after that 3-week shamanic program and spending time with plant medicine and a community of people that were, involved in all sorts of healing modalities really helped me to just wake up more of myself, and it was exactly what I wanted to connect with. But I kind of jumped in without really thinking about it. It was just like trust. So through the process, I would say the 2 ceremonies that were the most significant for me were one that was or the most like physically, spiritually like whoa, and that I was accepting and open to receive, was one that was with Kambo, which is a tree frog, I believe, or it's a frog of the Amazon, that they have a poisonous element to I think it's their skin. And so basically, traditionally, it's used as a way to clear your system, and at least that's the way it's especially used now in a ceremonial space is it's really detoxifying of your body. What you do is you create a series of like access points for it on your skin, which is the actually for me the hardest part, which was you get a little like a burn almost from the end of a stick that has, you know, was lit on fire. So like you kind of like burn your skin, and then the poison is applied, and then you go through a very quick, immediate purge of drinking a bunch of water and purging it all out. It's a pretty quick experience, and once it's clear that your body is like complete, which is basically, you know, you drink in a bunch of water and you've purged, and then, you know, there's no more purging, then they wipe that off, and then the ceremony comes to a close. So it's a very quick thing. So that was one. And then I'm excited to go into more detail about my full experience at a different time. But the second one was ayahuasca. And so we had 2 ceremonies of that. And that's where I really learned a lot about like so many good tools that helped me then and helps me now, because the concept that I wanted to share today is how life is a ceremony, and it's a continuous ceremony. So the way that I experienced the ayahuasca ceremony was you, first of all, you're like, don't know what to expect, and it's a little scary. You're like, oh my God. But you drink a little cup that has the brew of ayahuasca, which is a combination of 2 plants, and then what you do is that you, at least each ceremony space is held differently depending on the shaman who is holding the space and where they were trained or initiated, like what their roots are. But overall, like ayahuasca comes from the Amazon and the Andean region of Peru. I believe the Andean region, but definitely from the Amazon rainforest. But so in this ceremony, we start out and it's all dark. And then, you know, as the medicines entering your system and shifting your chemical, you know, balance to a different state. I think it's like DMT. People like to talk about, say, and know the like terminology for things. I'm not as interested or like catch on to it. So I think it's called DMT, but I'm not sure. But so basically that transition is really intense, at least for me, especially when you first experience it, you're like, oh, I'm here. And I'm going to talk about this very briefly and then go into my experience another time, like the full experience in a different share. But so you go into it and then you're in the darkness and you're feeling this shift, you know, this like frequency shift, this like total, you know, you enter this whole different kind of world because your chemistry changes. So you're seeing everything completely differently and in a way where you're feeling everything in a very visual, visceral way. And that's where a lot of the healing is, because you are facing and looking at things in a completely different way that normally you would take some time to get to if you were like doing that, if you were just like everyday, you know, la-di-da. This is like a more intensive, intentional space guided by this medicine to really like clear out a lot and purge things from your system. You can clear and release yourself of so many different things, like past family trauma, personal challenges, especially ancestral things. It really gets down to the roots of the source of why you might be experiencing a certain pattern or a certain like experience, it gets down to the root of it and has you release it, face it, sit with it, and feel it, and all that stuff. So, but then, so there's kind of like this wave effect of the medicine. And so when you're in it, and then it really builds up, then usually there's a purge of some sort, like a physical one. And then there's almost this like bliss moment at the end, especially at the end of the whole evening, like it's an overnight thing. So at the end of the whole ceremony, there's this like kind of post purge, feeling like all sorts of things. Like you can feel some really intense things in a very physical or visual way. So after that and the purge, there's this kind of like bliss feeling. And then there's like a little bit of an integration as well. That can take, for some of these ceremonies, that can take a long time. For me, I feel like I've been integrating, and only now I'm really integrated as like a pretty, like as much as I would think that I am for what I need to integrate from what I was experienced and like exposed to and released. So yeah. So anyway, so this like one set intentional ceremony, I can see how it reflects in my personal life, and for everyone, how life is just like this. We are here to learn and experience, and nothing is ever perfect all the time. Like we know that, life kind of has these highs and lows. There's no avoiding it. It just happens. These challenges, these opportunities to learn more about ourselves, to like sit with a trigger and ask ourselves why, to go through the shadow exploration, which comes from, being triggered and being, like everything around us is a mirror. So we're being mirrored back, like what's in us, because our energetic vibration that comes from a bunch of different things. First of all, our soul, our spirit, our physical DNA makeup, our familial patterns and subconscious, patterns and pathways that have been created over time. Those also create a specific reality for us. And in some ways, they're part of us because the subconscious is part of our makeup, but they are not necessarily who we truly are. So when we are like given this mirror, it's an opportunity to notice it. And at the end of the day, the lesson is to come back to love and to fully accepting and loving yourself, and feeling that shift in your body of that love, and that coming back to remembering the part of you that is the source, that is connected with infinite love. Like we are all, like our soul, our light, and all of us are pieces of oneness, which that oneness is love. It's like that frequency of light, of love light. So coming back to that is kind of like that moment where you shift out of the purge and you come into your bliss. And so the ceremonial aspect of life is that going through the waves, it's going through the ups and the downs, it's going through the being around people that maybe they're going to trigger something in us because they're a mirror to something. And then eventually, sometimes these behaviors around us, they no longer get to you the same anymore because you're just in a different state. you're able to see what it is for what it is and not be so attached to the story or the experience of it, and just breathe through the experience, let it pass, and come back to your love. And at that point, the more and more you are neutral to something that may happen around you, the less you'll have it come up in your life, because it's like a lesson that you've learned, and you don't need to necessarily learn it the same anymore. It's like graduating. And so, yeah, I lost my train of thought for a second, so let me just... So what I'll do is I'll share a story of how this all came up for me to feel inspired to talk about. Yeah, so today I went on a fun drive. Okay, here's the ups and downs of the day. And they're not necessarily huge ups and downs, but they're a feeling, because that's the uncomfortable part about being human, is that we are feeling. But that's the excellent part about being human, is feelings are energy in motion. So the more we just like let ourselves see that it's just energy in motion, just breathe, and it's going to move eventually, just like it's okay. It's okay if you're in a grumpy mood. It's okay that this is happening, but notice it as an emotion rather than as a story or something that you let yourself get stuck in. Because that's the thing about the ceremony I was in, is all of these ceremonies, there's some sort of release. And the ones that are like really intensive, like ayahuasca, there's a literal purge. And in order for you to move into that next state, you have to let go. And you just have to surrender and release. And that can look that happens all the time in real life. Like, we're constantly given opportunities to do that. Sometimes that release is like you feel this pressure in your chest or in your body, or this frustration or this like rut of feeling down. And what it really is asking you is to move the energy in some way. It could be a journaling, it could be a walk, it could be some deep breaths, yoga. There's so many ways and outlets to move the energy, and it could be as simple as breathing. If it's something a little bit more heavy, it could be something like getting yourself to a new environment or stretching. Just like there's so many ways to move the energy. It doesn't have to be vomiting, which is what happens with the ayahuasca ceremony. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so today I went for a drive, and I went to go for a hike, and I was basically in a pretty good state, like, internally. Then at the top of the mountain, I just kind of felt this kind of like grumpiness, like I didn't really want to be there. I wasn't feeling the joy and the amazingness of being at the top of the mountain that a lot of times you can feel. But I just kind of let it be. I moved my body to a new location. I took a nap in the sun, took some deep breaths, and then made my way and just recognized that it would pass. And so then I went down the mountain and started to feel really good about the experience. I feel like hiking a mountain is kind of like a ceremony. You usually go through waves of different feelings and challenges, and there's a lot of mental stuff you can go through, and reflection, especially if you're going by yourself. So then I came back down, ate some food, and then was faced with this experience that I've been having with money. And, where I'm at financially, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to buy myself a special drink that I wanted to from this place that I enjoy going to that has a really beautiful meadow, and it's called the Vermont Coffee and Tea Artisan or something. So I was kind of navigating that situation, and eventually made my way there, and decided to just call and ask if I could use cash, which is all I had available, and the $3 that I have. So I, had exactly what I needed for this cup of coffee that I was really excited about in like the experience of it. And so I had a really great time in this coffee shop. I found this magazine that was really inspiring. I have some new ideas of bucket list places I want to go and visit in Vermont. I felt really inspired for some new topics I want to write about. Like I said, it was a beautiful day. There's like meadows with flowers and dragonflies, and the environment's really nice. So that was all going great. And then I was just having so many beautiful like realizations and insights and excitement for some things moving forward, and like remembrance of my purpose and all these amazing experiences. And then I'm like doing my thing. And then my dad calls, and so I don't pick up. I like first finish something I was working on, writing down some ideas, and then I call him back, and he calls in a panic, and one of those moments where someone is in like they're acting or they're feeling like life or death type panic about different things. And it was a very challenging moment because I was being spoken to in a way that was unkind and disrespectful, and brought up a lot of different things that have been a challenge for me to feel and be kind of faced with as I've been living with my family for the past year, which is a celebration that I did it. But so that kind of changed some things again. So see how there's this like low, high, low, like constant ebb and flow of moments of challenge. But then afterwards, I, gave myself a moment. Basically, he wanted to use the car that I was using, and it felt very urgent for him. So, I had no issue with doing that. But so I went to the car and ended up leaving that place and coming home earlier than I expected. And on the car ride, I got back into my groove. I was just like, did my best, and I'm a lot better at it now, like letting go of that experience and breathing in the new present moment with my breath, and also recognizing that he is going through his own experience, and I'm learning to be more compassionate towards others, because what they're feeling is very real. And maybe the more compassionate I can be towards them, the more I will feel at ease in all sorts of environments. And also, it's like a way to be compassionate towards myself. And also, every time that we choose to not take something personally, to not get caught up in the story, or they're like, oh, this again, even though I could get there, it's really having a huge impact on yourself and the person and the entire planet, because we are all connected. And so one conversation where I was able to approach it, breathe, and respond in a way that was calm and kind, and authentic to myself and genuine. And even though I was being approached with this, this experience of kind of like this unkind, panicked person, or their response to something that was triggering them, the fact that I was able to stay in my zone and be in my own energy of groundedness and calmness, it really, I know it has an impact on the other person, because it shows, it first of all doesn't escalate things. And it shows people kind of how you want to be spoken to, and how it shows yourself too how you want to be spoken to. Because the other thing is, like, the amount of times that I have been that panicked person too, and when have I been in that panicked mode of desperation, of like demanding, of maybe responding with anger out of a survival feeling, a feeling of like there's something triggered your survival fight or flight mode in my relationship with the spiritual realm, or with my higher self, or with myself. Like, how many times have I been that person towards source, and towards this relationship I have with this non-physical realm that is part of creating the life that I experience. We can get like the same thing with money. Like, when have I been that person towards money? And how does that feel? Like, how did I feel being spoken to that way, with that panic? And if only he had taken some deep breaths and maybe had the tools, or the personal like leadership to learn tools to regulate his nervous system, and maybe kind of help himself remember that he's okay and everything is taken care of, like, no matter what. Like, it was a really simple thing that was triggering this. So reminding myself, in what ways am I showing up for others in that way? And this was a great reflection for me to commit again to being in a more loving, trusting, patient relationship with my higher self, and myself, and all aspects of myself. Basically, we embody a lot of different aspects of things. Within this, our experience, we can be connected with this divine side of things. We can be connected with our ancestors. We're connected with our humanness, with the ego, with that more like survival, animalistic type of place. So there's so many different aspects of, we can be connected. That's the other one I wanted to mention, was our inner child, our past teenage self, like all these different parts of ourselves. They're almost like, they sometimes become fragmented, and so we experience life through that lens of that version of ourselves, or that experience. But then coming back to wholeness is really coming back to balance, and just being compassionate towards ourselves can help with that. So this was a great example for me to like come back to a lot of different lessons around love and being compassionate towards others and myself. And then on the car ride home, I was just like back to jamming and really feeling in my element again, and feeling like I was money. Like, I learned a lot about money on today, and abundance, and inner stability, and that's basically what a ceremony is. It's like a plant medicine ceremony. You are going through a journey. You are learning something. You are releasing. You are coming back to love. You're coming back to yourself. You're coming back to like that feeling of empowerment and awesomeness. And you're feeling things, and that's life. So I wanted to share this as a reminder that that's basically how we can experience life day to day, and that knowing that it's whatever you're going through is going to pass is helpful to me, and I'm sure it will be helpful to you to help yourself get through the challenging moments and make that choice to release and let go and purge whatever it is and move that energy forward so that you can go into the next stage of things, that like bliss empowered state. All right, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that was a lovely episode for you and you gained some sort of wisdom or aha moment or activation for your own journey and life. And if you'd like to connect further, you can go to my website, erikajulia.com. It's ErikaJulia. And there you'll find also a blog where I share a lot of writings on similar topics. And also, if you feel really inspired by this episode, please leave a review and share it with a friend. And those two things would really help this podcast get to more people and more hearts and more ears, more minds, more bodies. So that would be really helpful. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here.